Hey guys, what's going on? I want to talk about a few things that I feel maybe we missed. Gonna be, I kind of remember I told y'all earlier today. I don't know if that video is even loaded yet. I might have forgot. I've been so busy, but I have a little bit different theory on Sebastian Rogers' case now that going over a lot of this stuff again for the second time. Uh, I'm wondering, you know, let me just start with allegedly, in my opinion, these are my theories, my thoughts, my speculations, my free speech, not to reflect the channel. I'm a big alleged bubble. Um, take it as a grain of salt. Allegedly, y'all's comments, y'all's alone. We do our research together because we're a big-hearted little family. And something I really want to touch on tonight is actually there's a few things that I went all the way back to kind of the beginning of this. And remember how there was 0 scent trail, right? 0. Well, I thought he took trash out. I've been thinking about that a lot. I've seen about 4 or 5 different notes where I highlighted that. And let's talk a little bit about the flashlight too. I think I have another theory that might work on that because remember what he said, trigger 1 times 100 million. But hold on. Let me just say before we get into this, man, look at that fire tonight. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers was 15 at the time, February 26th, 2024, when his mother, Katie Proudfoot, went to wake him up and he wasn't in his bed for school at 6 a.m., okay? He's just a happy-go-lucky kid, right? That I always say he touched America's hearts, he did, right? But he turned 16 on December 7th, 2024, while he was missing. Still hasn't been found. Not much out there, a little bit out there. Not very many updates by law enforcement. After the first 5 or 6 days, once they started the investigation part of it, that was it, right? But when did they start the investigation part? Something I've been wondering about. Because I went back and was viewing a few other things, and I come up with something that I thought was pretty interesting. He's autism, special needs, but he's a chess player, he's a smart kid. So we know he's not completely dependent on his mother, right? He can defend for himself. He can cook, make sandwich, make pizza, make whatever, right? He can make something to eat, take care of himself. He's had to do it before. He's 15 years old. Well, 16 now, but 15 at the time. So we know that he could get up and get snacks or whatever, and he knew how to get to the ice cream place. He knew how to get to his father as long as somebody was driving him. He knew if you went the same route, he knew which way to go. So he wasn't completely just like codependent on mama, right? But a couple of things I want to touch base on. One is she only called him baby one time. That really bugged me. But it didn't bug me as much as the trash. Because if he took that trash out, there would have been scent. The trash can had been picked up, but that didn't matter. His scent would have still been there mixed with whoever grabbed the trash can, whatever, right? That his scent would have still been there. And why did they, search the landfill? Why did they decide to do that so quickly? I think within the first couple of days, they already had what they think happened to this young man. There was a lot of things they always said they couldn't tell us, right? But some of the things that I went back and looked at was some of the very first podcasts when Christopher spoke, right? He said in that one, he said something about before I get started, let me say that I want to make this crystal clear so we're transparent all the way across the board. Remember that? Let's see. All right, hold on. And I want to go over that 9:43 time too. Sebastian Rogers. Yeah, that's some of the stuff I want to go over too. But I was looking for this one because he clearly. Oh, here we go. He said, "Crystal clear, remember, so transparency. So it's transparent across the board. Why was he trying to be transparent? This is a missing child's case, not anything else, right? And then why did he always say like me and mom? And then you remember when she said something to Sebastian, she said, "We love you." Remember? We want you home. You're not in trouble. And then the only thing that she separated the "we" from was when she said, "I just want my baby to be okay," right? How do you know he's not okay? That's kind of what I go to on that one. But some of these little things that were said in the beginning, guys, this is really, they had waited so long to speak, right? 90% of mothers with missing children are begging from day one, right? She never did that. And out of those 10% that don't beg, they're all in jail. What a coincidence, right? And another thing that I was wondering is that photo at the roadhouse, right? That was really his last meal. And I spoke to someone while I was in Tennessee, and that's why I wanted to talk about this. I have all my notes here, about 10 pages. It'll probably take me 2 hours. I won't have time tonight, but I don't think the fire lasts that long. I didn't cut no wood today, but the no shoes, the shoes thing, that was brought up in the beginning. I always said that's going to hold a big clue, right? Because I think they clearly forgot the shoes. That's what I think happened. And didn't realize it till after. But it's not really what I'm kind of shocked about. What I'm kind of really shocked about is not only some of the first interviews, but the 9:43 to 9:46. That's when he supposedly got on the phone with Katie that night. Okay? So to say 9:43, 9:46, give or take, almost 10 o'clock. One thing that he really beat around the bush about was he would tell a lot, right? As far as it was in his control. But when somebody asked a question he didn't like, what would he refer to? Law enforcement told me I can't, right? He was using that as a crutch. Even though they weren't telling him that, he was using that as a crutch. The timeline of him, if he was in town that weekend, would be just like any other weekend before. Say he wasn't put out of the house, so there's no reason for him to be gone. Say he was home that weekend. And he left, say around, 6:40 p.m. to head back. He'd get back around what time? If he left 6:40, he'd be back by 9:40, roughly, right? Somewhere around in there, give or take. Without a camper, it's, right at, 2 hours and 58 minutes, something like that, 3 hours, give or take, without a camper. So just say it's 3 hours and, let's just guess 3 hours and 7 minutes. That'd be 9:46 p.m. That's about when they got on the phone. So are we missing this whole picture? Are they given a timeline from midnight to 6 a.m.? They're the ones saying that's when he vanished. How does she know? She fell asleep on the couch. How does she know he didn't leave before? She never went and checked on him. She knows he was there at 10 supposedly, or 9 supposedly, because that's when she hollered at him, which I don't think she did, but that did say, give or take that was 10. How does she know that it was 12 o'clock when he was gone? Between 12 and 6. That's both of their timelines. This child vanished. Christopher Prophet said that a lot. Allegedly, these are my opinion, but that's what he said. Clearly, in a lot of his different statements, he said, it's a magic mystery or whatever. Between 12 and 6, he just vanished without a trace. Remember that? That's what he said. So it's his own words. How do they know that it was midnight to 6 a.m.? How do they know that? I think if you notice what they try to do is push things to where whatever could have happened They moved the timeline forward. Okay? We know that she had dash cam turned on. Okay, why? That 9-minute drive home. What if? We don't know Sebastian was home. Nobody saw him home. We don't even know if he's seen on camera for sure. We know that they think he was seen on February 26th, but Katie was all in black too. That could have been her that night that went out there in the Tinkerbell lights, right? Which I think it is, but I'll get into that in just a second. But say, for instance, he was somewhere, mom's, buddy's, cousin, sister's house, somewhere bouncing around. If he had come in for poker or whatever and decides to leave Sunday around, I don't know, 6:40. That'd be about the time they got home, about what, 6:34? So just say it was closer to 6:30. When she left there at 6:25, 9 minutes, that's 6:34. After that, there's nothing of this child. That's the dash cam, 9-minute drive. That's it. 6:34 p.m., no more from this child has ever been heard from or seen from, supposedly. That we can verify, right? We can verify. Well, what if Chris did leave at 6:35, 6:40 from mom's or brother's and just go right by that road and grab him? That why he won't tell us? Because law enforcement says he can't discuss dates and times when the time he was last home. Even when he said the beginning of February, he didn't really say that was the last time he was home. He's always beat around that question. So I'm wondering now if maybe they had done all this beforehand. Their goal was between 12 and 6 a.m. we have to do something, right? So let's just say we choose 3 a.m. Okay, 3 a.m. for somebody to come by there. And Katie, remember she said flashlight. Maybe she knew they would see that. Maybe they're outsmarted, trying to outsmart all along. Maybe this was their plan all along, was to use that as a debunking tool. Because remember, law enforcement pretty much stated in a way that it's not relevant right now, but maybe later, okay? Maybe later meaning if they find out that he was gone right after the restaurant, which a lot of people in the beginning thought he was gone. A lot of people still think he was disappeared after the restaurant, that's where the exchange happened, and it's possible. Maybe all this other was just hoopla. Maybe that was all part of their plan. That kid might have already been gone and in somewhere else or no telling where else by the time he called her at 9:46 p.m. or 9:43, whatever time say that may be. That would put him home if right after they left the restaurant, within 9 minutes, if he was swapped over to Chris's vehicle and Chris drove back. Boom. Because remember, there's really no solid alibi for Chris. They can't say whether he was there, not there, whether he was home, not home. They've never been able to, nobody's ever confirmed that. Nobody. Not all law enforcement has it. So we know he's tried to clear himself 100 million times. But if I look at it this way, if he was in Memphis and there was 100% proof he was in Memphis, and they know that he was in Memphis for 1,100%, he wouldn't be a suspect at all. Think about that. He wouldn't. Why would he be? He was 3 hours without a trailer, 3.5 hours with the trailer away. They wouldn't be looking at him at all. He was gone. But he sure did insert himself into all of this. He's the one that called 911, not the mom that was supposedly with him last. She's the one that didn't call. She should have called. She should have said, no. I'm here. I can answer their questions. I was home. You don't need to call. You're no part of this. You're not even here. Don't brag yourself into this. Right? As much as he tried to clear himself, if he saw a path of being cleared, he would have taken it. So if truly he would have been in Memphis, 1,000% for sure. We know he was that morning, but we don't know where he was that night. We know by what, 6:30, whatever in the morning. He could have been there early in the morning. He had all night to do whatever he needed to do after he hung up with her at midnight. He could have said, all right, Terry's going to be there 2:58, 3 a.m. And that may be why the threes are in their head. 3 a.m. he's going to be outside. Run out there, act like you're doing something, run back. Boom, that's it. That's the way we're going to make it look like he left his house at 3 in the morning. Maybe this was their whole plan from the beginning, and we're just seeing it totally wrong. And I know I always come up with some crazy ideas, but this is really makes sense. I hate to say it, but it makes sense. Perfect sense, right? Maybe we're just looking at it completely wrong, because if you really go back and look, they waited all this time to talk. They're like, oh yeah, man, they're going to think that video is him leaving. We're set, we're safe, we're good. You know, maybe. Because if you remember, SF, said that car that was seen had already been, those people had already been spoken to. Somebody that frequently visited a neighborhood. Well, his parents frequently come there. Kathy Bowersox frequently comes there. Maybe that's the car. Maybe we're missing it altogether. Maybe they had a plan from the get-go. Hey, come by and bring something. That way if they do say something, we can just tell Ali that, hey, she had to drop this off. I ran to get it. In case they got busted. But if not, then we'll just leave it as, hey, that's the vehicle that took Sebastian. That's why we said he was abducted. That's why she said, I don't know why he walked out that door. Because he never walked out the door. But you wanted him to walk out the door because that's what you wanted it to be. That's the guilt in you. That's why I always felt like she went up there to Easy Days. Moms want to be close. Especially with the guilt. That may be why she went up there to begin with. Maybe she didn't want to leave him any longer. She wanted to go up that way. What do y'all think about them apples? Because there's so much, guys, in here, little things that we miss. Like, if he would have walked to school, which he never did that morning, right? He had no snacks, no lunch, no phone, no shoes, no jacket, no backpack, no medicines. So he's going to walk to school without all of that. No. Not the case. But it was all part of their plan. I think they executed their plan right after the roadhouse. And that's why she was so freaked out. She knew, okay, hopefully somebody won't know me, that knows me, or does somebody see me? Like, where they can verify me here. She took that picture of him knowing that's going to be the last picture she took because she's fixing to drop him off of Chris. She'll probably never see him again. Like, is that all part of her plan? To use that picture to show us, look, he was fine. Then she used the dash cam. I wonder if she was even asked or if she just offered it. Maybe that was all part of their plan. Hey, look, I have all this proof of life. So he walked out somewhere around 3 in the morning. That's what we think. How do we know that she didn't tell him that? Hey, I think it was around 3 in the morning. And she opened that door at 3 a.m. to make it look like he went out in case they checked that lock, right? And they verified the time. Oh my gosh, it is 2:58 a.m. Somebody walked out of this home. That must have been him. And that's why they were so confused in the beginning. And maybe the cops have finally caught on after a couple of days and they're like, okay, that's what Katie was wearing. We see her roadhouse footage. We know she was wearing all black too, with black shoes that look just like his. Okay. She made it look like it was Sebastian running out to that car, and it wasn't him. And I thought that in the beginning, that she used her clothes and his shoes as a decoy, but the shoes didn't work because of her sweat. But there's no scent at the trash can either, guys. So which means he didn't take out that trash. I'm sorry. They would have went straight to that can. He did not take out that trash. And I think they checked that trash because they thought maybe she got rid of something. I'm wondering if they even checked the landfill for him or for other stuff that she might have gotten rid of in the trash to make it look like it. That was all part of her plan. They overweighed that trash can on purpose. Just like the Tinkerbell light, I think now they might have done on purpose. They might have done all these things on purpose, guys. Can you believe that they might have actually done all this? I mean, I think they're caught now, but I'm just saying. Y'all get me, right? Y'all get what I'm saying, right? Like, what if she did do all this on purpose? And that's her guilt. Like, they outsmarted them so good, but then got caught somehow. I think CPS poked a lot of holes in this, but I think y'all are going to be surprised at how much they are involved. Man, I'm just wondering, guys. I hope I don't blow y'all's mind too much, but I'm really seriously starting to think that way because Think about that. There was some other things too. Crystal clear. Where's that one? Yeah, because he always dodges the question about the 23rd, the 24th, and the 25th. He always dodges questions on those 3 days. And she gave a itemized statement of what they did all weekend. Went to Costco's and Nate, went to BJ's, went to Spare, went here. She knew, like, it was all popping out, right? Like, because she planned it all. I think they planned this for a while. And because another thing is that, she used the word baby once. And then another thing I was kind of curious about that made it sound like it was a setup. And I think they did it earlier before midnight to where they could say midnight to 6. So that'd be the time frame that they were looking for and not before. I think that was part of their plan now. And the 3-minute thing. Okay, this is a woman that supposedly panicked in 3 minutes. He's a 15-year-old kid. Evidently, he's gone outside before. The neighbors have said so. So why would she panic in just 3 minutes? And that's the only time she ever panicked. Because she never acted like she panicked begging for him. She never asked nobody to let him go if he really thought he was abducted. She didn't do any of those things because she already knew where he was, in my opinion, allegedly. And I think now that we've been looking at this all wrong. I'm 60% now. I think that what they did was try to make it look like it. I really think they did a good job of it too. I think they went outside the box, and I think they used the trash can. They weighted it down to throw one red flag. I think they used the flash. She brought up the flashlight knowing, hey, they're going to see my flashlight. Let's make sure we turn our flashlights on. So maybe that's why they turned the flashlights on, kind of paused here and there, and kind of went slowly. Maybe they wanted it to be picked up. Knowing, okay, all those trees are back there, they're not going to catch us. They're not going to really get to see our face. They might see some of our clothes, but that's what I want. I want it to look like Sebastian. And I think that's her only job, was to walk out there and look like she was Sebastian and run back to that house, and that was it. But I think she was supposed to turn her flashlight off coming back, and she forgot. That's what I'm thinking. But, she had all these things. No shoes, flashlight. No shoes, because she forgot, I think. Because I think whatever shoes he had on were new shoes that she had probably bought him at Costco's or BJ's. So then his other shoes that were there were just his original shoes that would be accounted for, school photos, whatever it might be, right? I think that was part of the plan. And then there was another one here that I wanted to ask. Yeah, because the 3 a.m. I think was a decoy. Because 9:46, that would put it about right at 3 hours and 6 minutes to get back. And that's about right. Because then he had 17 hours the following day to do what he needed to do. Plus he had all the way till 6 a.m. to do what he needed to do. Technically, he hung up from midnight. Okay, check that out. Midnight to 6 a.m. is when he's saying that the boy vanished. Well, he hung up with her at midnight. Right around midnight. A few minutes before or right around midnight. That's when make myself crystal clear, to be transparent across the board. Okay, explain that. 12 to 6 a.m. That was your chance to hide this young man before you had to be on that crane, right? That's why it stuck in your head between 12 and 6. It came out. I don't think you meant for it to, but it did. Wow, oh wow, guys. I think he's telling the truth in a way, but lying in a way. I think he's telling the truth whatever happened to Sebastian was between midnight and 6 a.m., but it was on his watch. That's what I'm beginning to think now. I'm thinking Katie might have just let him get in the truck with him. Because, he did look drowsy at the restaurant. Maybe she'd already given him his medicine and it was knocking him out. And by the time they got home, I'd like to hear that dash cam. He might have been so tired by the end that, boom, she just dropped him off right then and there. Wow, oh wow. That would be crazy, wouldn't it? I think it's possible. There was a few other things that I'd wanted to talk about. The panicking, the 3-minute thing. The 3-minute thing. That's what, the panicking at 3 minutes. Why? You never begged. You never showed empathy. You never once asked. You never once said, like most moms would say, is, I wonder if my baby's cold. I wonder if my baby's hungry. I wonder if my baby, why you don't have no shoes on? Like, oh my God, we got to find him. Please get out there. She didn't do any of that. Because all along she knew. And the dead giveaway to them, to me, was waiting the week to talk. And then when they talk, they choose channels that they could control. Because once they got on Nancy Grace, there's a reason they didn't go back to Nancy Grace, guys. It wasn't because Ellie told him not to. They'd have never done that. They want you to speak, so don't lie. He couldn't handle it because she put the heat on his ass. And I think he couldn't control. He doesn't like women that are powerful. That's his problem. That's why he chose Katie. That's why he chose the other 5 before her, right? Remember, she's number 6. Y'all always say number 6, but actually he was married 5 times before her, right? 5 times. So that makes her actually number 6. Because Nina was 5. So Katie's 6. He'd have been on 7th wife he'd leave Katie. All before he's 50. Like I said, trading him in like a driver's license. But you know, think about these little things, guys. I'm starting to really wonder if this has anything, if they tried to do this all back, and we're just looking at this totally freaking wrong, guys. Damn, I'm starting to think that. I hate to say it, but I am. But think about it. That's a perfect time, 6:30 to 9:46. That's perfect time. That's about the right exact time. Okay, so once he got there, he called her. All right, I'm going to stay on with you till midnight, and then I'm going to hang up at midnight. I'll go do what I got to do. I'll be in the crane by 6 a.m. or whatever time. He gave him all night. So technically, he had all night. He had from 12 to 6 to hide the child. And then he went back and it took 17 hours to make sure he did it right. That's in my book, that's what I think. That was plan B. Make sure I covered my tracks good. And then sure enough, then there in March, towards the end of March, they take off and leave the child, leave home. They're not going to do all those things. There's no way you're not going to come between a mother and a missing child. They ain't leaving that damn house. They're going to tell you to take your shit and go if you want, but they're not going. Ain't no way no woman is going to leave with her autistic 15-year-old out there. Yeah, because it was 9:43 to 9:46, roughly, he said crystal clearly. And then, you know, all the things he talked about was all the bad things, like the bell, the CPS. That's all he ever talked. He never said, hey, he's missing. We need to spread the word. We need to do this. He never did. They never did any of that. Seth did, but they didn't. And, you know, Seth always said he's hoping, he's known Kate. He's married to her for a long time. He's hoping that she's going to eventually tell the truth, right? He said that early on, like 10 months ago. The 3-minute panic. She never called 911. The 3 a.m. was the setup, I think, for the Tinkerbell lights. I'm going to go with that for now until I can, because I'm wondering. CPS likes to poke holes. We know that. The 15-year-old. Yeah, I already talked about how does she know between 12 and 6. How do they know that for sure? She was asleep on the couch, supposedly. Whatever happened, I think happened during that phone call. Like that was the cover up, was that phone call. Hey, make sure you do not fall asleep. You got to be out there by 3. Is that why he was trying to keep her up? So she'd be there when Tinkerbell came. The Tinkerbell light had to happen. Because that would have messed up all the plan if she wouldn't have done that. Because then there would have really been no way of no sighting of him at all. I think she's the one seen on that camera. I don't think it's him. I think FBI may have thought it was him because of the black in the shoes. But she had on the same thing. I hope that they know that. And she could have put on a sweatshirt before she went out there. I still think I've always thought she's the one, or Kathy was the one that took out the trash. Let's see here. Yeah, because if she fell asleep, she wouldn't know if he left. Because she never went there and checked on him. Let's see. Yeah, she's going to be the one to break. I think she'll be the one to break. I really do. I think she'll be the one that ends up breaking in all this. Because she can't bear the guilt, right? It's usually the mom. Usually, I think she'll break and he's going to be the one to take the fall. because I think he's the main source behind it. He's the one that had all the motives. It was his court. He was going to lose his daughter. He was fixing to go to jail because of Sebastian and CPS. Like, he needed that child. He's the one that would benefit, not her. What is she going to benefit from? Just for him to beat on her more because Sebastian's not around to beat on both of them? I mean, allegedly, trigger warning times 100 million, but allegedly, in my opinion, she looked like he looks like the type and talks like the type that would abuse women. And I think we've heard that plenty of times before, especially by Nina. I don't know, guys. No scent at the trash can. I know that's what I already talked to y'all about that, but that was one of my big things was there was no scent there. And just one time she ever called him baby, and that was in that very beginning. And they had everything laid out. Remember that? Like, everything was kind of to the point, right? Even SF said that car had been vetted. So that's why I don't think they put out an Amber Alert for the car. I think they realize that that's Katie and not him. I don't know. I think maybe they've realized that now, but the flyer had already come out and they're not going to change it. But not until the arrest. They don't want to throw them off, right? You know, and then those three things she said really got me. You know, we love you. We want you home. And then she ends it all with, I just want my baby to be okay. Well, why weren't you asking if he's hungry, if he's cold, if he's tired, if he needs his medicine? You weren't asking any of that. You weren't begging. You weren't begging somebody to let him go if you really thought he was abducted. I mean, that was their plan, was to make it look like it. And that's why I feel now that was all a setup. That Tinkerbell video was all fake. I really do. I think so, guys. Yeah, because 6:34 would put him back around 9:45, 9:46. That's about right. The shoes, yeah. I talked about shoes. They forgot the shoes. I knew I knew everybody, I think, in the beginning knew, right? No one failed Sebastian but Katie Proudfoot. Katie Proudfoot's the one that failed Sebastian. I mean, she technically is the one that failed Sebastian, really. I think we all know that, right? And you know another thing, in the beginning of all this, you remember, all she really talked about was the day before. Y'all remember that? Like, everything, the spaghetti pancakes. Why did she talk about spaghetti pancakes so much? It's because that was his last breakfast, guys. Think about it. That was Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers' last breakfast. He never got breakfast again, that we know of. He never got lunch again. That was his last supper with his mom. That's why she took the photos of him, I think. Just keepsake. And, I mean, I'm not saying that Chris went off and buried the kid somewhere. He could have passed him off to somebody. There's no telling, right? They could have said, oh, we're going to hide him over here till he's 18 and then he'll be legal. Maybe it'll all go away. And I think that's why maybe they had talked about dropping him off at a gas station. You know, I think Seth said that. He probably is thinking, and Katie, I'll put him somewhere. Hey, just please drop him at a gas station. Like, I won't press charge. Just drop him off somewhere and where there's no cameras. Just tell him to run inside and call 911. And don't worry, you know, like Seth just wants his son back. And I think he felt like they might have passed this kid off somewhere. Remember, he knows Katie well. And why only panic that first morning and never panic again? You would think once you started panicking until you found your child, you'd be panicking. That's what most parents would do. 90% of them do. I think it was 91.43 or something. It's a high number. And then the 3 minutes, we know it takes longer than 3 minutes to search for a child. And then she left. Like, that was all part of the plan, was to leave so she could talk to Chris away from the home, to get away from Wi-Fi, so things couldn't be traced on Wi-Fi. I think they had all this planned. I think the only reason she really left that home was to get away from the Wi-Fi. I really do. Because, you know, smart TVs and all those things a lot of times will pick up. You know, you can use your phone through your TV and all that now. It could pick up and keep the history. And maybe she wanted to be away from the Wi-Fi. Because remember, she's a tech. So she wanted to be away from the Wi-Fi. I think that's the real reason why she left the home. And I really do feel that way. And how come Chris knew so much about everything, right? He wasn't there. I still want to know how he knew he vanished from 12 to 6 a.m. How did he know that? Unless he's the one that caused it. No, that's the thing. He hung up at midnight. And that's what's starting to stick with me now is that they hung up the phone right around midnight, right at midnight. Crystal clear, transparently, right at midnight. That gave him midnight to 6 a.m. to do what he needed to do. Sorry, but that's what happened. I bet he got in that crane and looked right at 6 o'clock when she called. If he was even in that crane yet. They've never verified anything about any of his stuff. I mean, they haven't. And just like, him saying to Nancy Grace that, the challenging her, in his own way, that's his abusive way of challenging her. Name a time and place and I'll be there, remember? Ma'am. Like he's throwing it at her like I'm challenging you. You're not going to win against her. That's the problem. And that's why I didn't go back. 3 or 4 days later, they're supposed to go back for a file. They didn't do it. They didn't do it. He says L.E. told him not to. And that's BS. They'd have never told you that. They want you to speak. Because he didn't want to be embarrassed again. He didn't want to be asked those tough questions again. He wanted to control the narrative. Because all he ever talked about was negative things about Sebastian or how he vanished and it's going to be studied for years. Like, they had all this planned. Everything they say leads up to them like saying, hey, we did this and you're never going to catch us, right? But I think somehow they got caught. I think it's always that one piece of the puzzle. And I always thought it was a Tinkerbell video, but now I'm thinking, yeah, it is a Tinkerbell video, but now they know that that wasn't Sebastian. So where the heck did he go? That's why they say there's no proof he left at home. For one, there's no scent trail at all. There's not even scent trail to the damn trash can that he supposedly took out. Explain that one. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he ever came home from the roadhouse. Or if he did, it was only for a quick minute. I don't think he did. I think she dropped him off beforehand to Kathy or somewhere. Somebody. That's who she was looking for probably. I think she dropped him off to someone. I think it was Chris, honestly. I think he was waiting somewhere on the outskirts of that road right there where there's no cameras, waiting to head back to Memphis. It was like, hurry up. And make sure you give me your medicine. Maybe she was taking pictures, showing him, look, his eyes are drowsy. Not about eating a salad dressing. That was the last photo you took of your son. Think about it. And now we know that that was the last photo you took of your son. So explain that. Make that make sense. Nobody, that's the last picture of Sebastian that she has on her phone, the last photo. Yes, we've seen surveillance footage of him leaving, but that's the last photo she took of him. Why? There's meaning to all these things, guys. There's meanings to this video. There's meanings now. I feel that that's part of their cover-up. It's not. We were just looking at this the wrong freaking way. There's so much more I could go over. I just don't have time, but there is. I know I have 100 things I'm doing tonight. I had some reports come in for work and stuff this morning, and I've been working on a lot of that today. We did a little search today, but it was so windy, guys. We couldn't do it. It was just that all the videos, it was just too loud. I tried, but it was windy. I did one this morning on that Sam, that transgender that was found. It's never posted yet. I'm still going to load it. That's a sad story too, guys. Those 5 people evidently kept this transgender 24-year-old Sam alive for like 2 weeks or a month, torturing him, and then he finally unalived from all the torturing, and they just dumped him out in the field. He was just found on February 13th. I did a video of it today. They've arrested all 5 of them that were responsible. But, it's in New York, and he was out of Minnesota, Sam, and it's sad. It's a sad story. Poor transgenders, they're just viewed in such a bad, negative way sometimes, and it's sad. They can't help it. They were born that way. But I don't want to bounce around. But anyway, guys, there's so much that we could go over on this case now that I've found a few of these little loopholes here and spoke to a few people down there. I wish I wasn't so tired. But we will do more tomorrow. I did a bunch of videos today. Like I said, it's just too windy. There's just so much that I want to go over. Like, Chris doesn't really have an alibi. And that's the crazy thing about it. He does not have one. He has one for that morning after 6 whenever he was seen at work site, but that's it. I wonder what they saw on those cameras, what time he came in. I bet he came in, and that's why he won't say it, because he didn't want to come out and lie on national TV and then CPS see it. That's why I think he wouldn't tell a time. I mean, I think he lawyered up in the beginning. I really think Chris had a lawyer before. Like on the first day, I think he got a lawyer. And I think that's why he never took a lie detector test, is because his lawyer told him not to. But to me, you know what's funny is, though, they don't hold up in court anyway, so why should he be so scared to take it? You would think the first thing he'd have done is said, give it to me. He'd have told Nancy Grace like Seth did, give it to me. I'm ready to clear my name, give it to me. Because he should have never even been in it if he was really had a solid alibi. If he had a solid alibi, he wouldn't be a suspect, in my opinion, not being that far away. But we don't ever really look at those little things that could have, but I really do think now, I'm serious. Who was it, though? They had to have somebody come by at 3 in the morning, somebody they know, because clearly we can tell that she ran out that back door and ran back. That was all part of the setup to make it look like he was gone. Or maybe it was the exchange, but I'm starting to think maybe the exchange had already happened. And he just used that phone call to keep her awake long enough to make sure the plan got executed right. That's why I think he kept her up. Because why else would you talk if you're sleeping on the couch? Why is he going to sit on the other end of the phone? Let's do a snore? Pfft, come on. That's wife number 6, bro. You ain't doing that. But anyway, y'all think about that for a little while, and we'll keep yapping about it tomorrow. We'll talk about a few more things tomorrow night. I got some other cases that I want to bring up too tomorrow night, but I did want to discuss, where's that one? Let's see. He always dodges the question. We know that. I want to make sure there was one more thing I thought I wanted to discuss, and I don't remember if I did. Yeah, they kind of put out the time, I think, more or less to push what they think happened, to like push that on everyone. Hey, between 12 and midnight. I mean, between midnight and 6 a.m. Because we know he wouldn't have walked to school. She wasn't going to that school to look for him. There was something else she had to do. Get away from the Wi-Fi, get away from the house. She didn't want to be there when all the stuff come. And maybe she did. Maybe he didn't. Maybe really. He did not want her there maybe until her mother was there to talk to the police maybe. Maybe he wanted his mom there to help her, right? So she wouldn't slip up. Maybe that's part of why she left. And then they waited so long to call him, right? Maybe that's part of the plan. And there's meaning behind everything they did. We know that. And we know that they never were mourning or anything. I mean, Katie knows all the answers. She does. She knows where Sebastian is. Unless he just didn't tell her. But one of them knows. But, it's just, it's horrible that it's to think about that 9:43 to 9:46, and then why she panicked that morning but never panicked before. And then why did he try to make up stories about dogs and scents? He was pushing that narrative to try to say, look, Sebastian went out that way. He was, I think, pushing the narrative towards where that Tinkerbell lights were. I think that's what he was trying to push. Remember he said they went out the back. I think he was pushing them to try to go towards where that flashlight video was made on purpose, and wanted them to think, okay, look, he got into a car here and left. I'm wanting to think that was their plan now. But all along, Chris took him, I feel now. Unless they can prove that he wasn't there, then somehow, some way, they swapped it out. Either Katie and Miss Bowersock swapped cars and she drove him up there, something like that. But that video, that Tinkerbell video, might just be the answers to why the cops flipped everything to foul play, kind of. Because I still think they think it's foul play. They wouldn't have said that if they didn't think so. But, the thing is, Katie never really talked much, ever. I'm trying to see here. Yeah, because TVI, yeah, I think, like I said, I think Chris lawyered up. The 3-hour phone call was part of their plan to make it look like. That's why I think Sebastian was already gone. I think Chris already had him up there by then. And that's why he wasn't really. They did that 3-hour phone call to make it look like they talked that long, just in case they tried to think he got out at that time. Or they could use the 3 a.m. flashlight video if that time didn't work. Right? We don't know what they told them. Evidently, they told them the same as they told us, that between midnight and 6 a.m., this child vanished. So we at least know that it's somewhere within that time frame that they think that it did. So which tells me that their guilt is telling them, I think Chris is telling something, hey, whatever happened to Sebastian, I think Chris did between midnight and 6 a.m. It was all before that phone call. Because she pretty much called him a few minutes after 6. And that was probably part of their plan. You better call me a few minutes after 6 and make it look like you went in there and he wasn't there. I don't think that child was ever there at all. I don't think none of that. And it's definitely, I don't know. Something's got to give in this. Oh, Lord. Something's got to give in this, right? We know that. Something's got to give. Ooh, that's a good one, too. These are burning good, guys. We got the good fire going tonight, huh? But, I don't know. What do y'all think? Y'all let me know what y'all think. But I know that it gives me some new search areas now when I'm thinking this way. But then again, that next day when he was bringing that camper back, and we know other people went with him and took a vehicle supposedly too, that he could have, it could end up being Sebastian Rogers at that wildlife. Because you would think that'd kind of be a spot that he would take him, that was in a gate that wasn't really used anymore, an entrance that wasn't really used. You know, that would make sense because he knows it's not traveled. It just happened to be that somebody happened to stumble upon it. You know, it would take a right person in the right place to find that out there in the middle of nowhere like that. Literally, that's the middle of nowhere, guys. And that's a big, 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 big wildlife refuge. So it's like finding a needle in a haystack, really. Somebody just happened to be in the right place, right time. I always say God has a plan for everything. That's someone's loved one, if it's not him. But it would be a location to me that I would think that he would utilize. But you never know. It could be anyone. That's the thing. We just don't know. I mean, my faith is strong, but God, it's just been almost a year. And that's almost Maddie Soto's birthday, too, coming up. She would have been 14. Oh, my gosh. What's wrong with these parents? I don't get it. Anyway, guys, I don't know what else to really say on this other than they hold the answers, right? I mean, they do. We know they hold the answers. They talk a little bit overconfident, so we know they have the answers. But everything they've done, everything they've said, their waiting process between talking, everything they did points to them. And that's the reason why everybody thinks it's them. And of course, his thing from the beginning was trying to feed off of. He was trying to feed off of what Katie was doing. You see how close he tried to connect himself? Because he wasn't even home. He should have never even been talking. That's how it wouldn't have been that way yet. Okay, any other husband would have been like, man, I was 3.5 hours away. You talk. Right? I mean, I'll back you up. I'll hold your hand. I'll beg for you too. But you talk. Like, they wouldn't want to get involved in that. And he dived right in. And I think it's more or less because she's probably the innocent one. I mean, she's not innocent, of course, because she neglected this child. She allowed him to abuse him. She was married to him. I mean, she allowed him to abuse her. I mean, that's the thing, is she allowed all these things to happen. That's why I say she's the one that failed him. She failed him by not getting him away from that stepfather. She failed Sebastian. So don't say somebody else failed Sebastian. She failed Sebastian. He should have, Christopher probably should have never laid a hand on that child nor a belt. She should have been like, no, you're not touching my child. Are you crazy? He's got autism. No way. But she didn't. She allowed it. And that's what makes me think it was happening to her as well. And it is sad because, Nikki McCann and Suzanne Simpson and some of these other ones we talk about are in that same scenario, missing right now because of abusive husbands that they were trying to leave. But Katie and Chris are stuck together now. They can't separate. If they do, it'll be like that other case. You remember where the best friend, they were duck hunters? He unalived him and put him out in that water or whatever, remember? And made it look like, and then he married the wife a few years later or something. And then when they divorced, he spilled the beans on her. That's what I'm saying. If they ever divorce, one of them is spilling the beans. But I think they'll be arrested before that. I think the cost, really now that I think about it, they had to have really applied for that landfill warrant in the first few days. So I think they were, when they say no obvious reason, just as part of the investigation and like a speculation of why they searched it, I think because they're like, okay, she overweighed this on purpose. I think they had already read her mind, I think, is the problem. And they were like, okay, she's talked about flashlight and no shoes. Okay, is that her seen out there on that camera all in black? They know she was in black by looking at the Roadhouse footage. They know things weren't adding up. They know she wasn't begging for this child. They probably didn't see her in a panic. They didn't see her crying. They didn't see any of that. They didn't see her hysterical. They saw Chris the way he was talking and being all cocky and trying to take over the situation and say, oh, that dog went right that way and that way. No, you were pointing right towards that Tinkerbell video when you said that dog did that. Right up that back way. Yeah. He was trying to push that. And that's why I think now is part of their plan. And we just looked at it wrong. But I'm going to do some digging to keep digging. Y'all know me. There's a couple other clips that I need to go watch that I just found, and I haven't watched them yet. And I told myself I was going to watch them tonight, and I just haven't done it. I'm tired, but I'm hungry. I'm ready for a shower. But anyway, guys, let's keep up the justice to this young man. He needs us. And it's just truly heartbreaking that they hold the answers and yet they're still walking free. I'm shocked. I mean, I really thought arrests would be done by now. I hope it's coming in the next week, but I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but I think we all feel it. I think they figured it out. I think if we can figure it out, I think they figured it out. And I think it's just, they're either waiting on something to come back, some kind of warrant, some kind of something that they requested. They're waiting on it to come in. I think it's just one piece of the puzzle they're waiting on. And maybe they already have it, and they're just trying to decide, okay, maybe it's going to be February 26th. I don't know. A lot of people think that way. And that's possible. It's coming up. I think it'd be before that, but you never know. Maybe they will wait till that day. I'm sure they checked all their history. They checked their TVs. They checked their smart TVs. They checked their phones. I'm sure they've checked everything. And now they probably interviewed them again and again. That's probably when they went silent. They probably got interviewed again. And after that second interview they did, they got nervous, and that's why they're trying to debunk a lot of this stuff. But I think maybe the Tinkerbell video backfired on them. I think maybe they were able to tell that it may have been possibly Katie. And they were like, hey, is that you? And then maybe she slipped up and said, I was out there looking for him. We don't know what came out. And we might not ever know. And I mean, we might not. I hate to say that, but we might not. I pray we do. I mean, we can keep searching till we're blue in the face like all of us are doing right now, but doesn't mean we're still going to fight. If he's not in those areas at all, I mean, he had 17 hours. That's how I look at it. Well, 10. He had 10 hours. Plus the midnight to 6 a.m., there's another, 6 hours. So it's 16 hours to do something. It's a long time. And he could have had help. Who knows? I don't know. But we know something bad happened to this young man, most likely, because he's vanished. So something bad did happen. And I don't think it was him, because there would have been a scent. Even if he'd have took the trash out, there'd be a scent on the trash can. To the trash can. Why is that light bulb missing up there? A lot of people are saying that light bulb was a ring light camera. I've talked about it before. You can buy them at your nearest Home Depot or Lowe's. Most of the time you can buy them at Walmart now. And if it was, then that explains why she took it out. So it wouldn't be seen and they wouldn't see the camera. She worked for a security store. I'm sure they had some kind of camera. And those are the easiest ones that you can just, you know, you got to remember all the CPS complaints. That's maybe why they didn't want cameras, but they had them just, you know, so he could spy. He could have a light bulb in the kitchen that had him see the snacks. He could have had a light bulb in the living room and watch them. And they could have taken all those little light bulbs out and replaced them right before all this happened. And nobody'd ever know they had them in there. That's if they threw them away. Now, if they found them in the trash can, that'd be a different story. They might have found them in the trash. But I don't think they would have done that. He would have probably buried them somewhere on a construction site, most likely. He would have destroyed them, burned them something. He wouldn't have left those SIMs card out for people to find. He's smarter than that. That's why I'm really thinking now that they flipped this whole thing around. But I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think. If y'all think I'm crazy or if you think it makes sense. I think it makes sense. And I don't know. It's something new to look at to try to understand. Maybe they really did try to outsmart everyone. And somehow, some way they got caught, or else they wouldn't be suspects. And this wouldn't be an investigation. So I don't think they have proof that this boy was abducted, and I think that's the biggest part of it all. Because he has made that clear a couple of times. There's no proof that he left his home. That's why I'm saying that if there's no proof he left the home, it's because he wasn't at the home. Think about it. There's no proof he left. I'm sure they're thinking the same way. Then when did he leave? After the roadhouse. Somehow, some way between that trip, he's gone. She could have pulled into the beginning of that neighborhood and turned that dashboard cam off, and he'd have been right there, and he'd have jumped out and grabbed it. He could have been asleep by then from the medicine, as strong as that medicine was. He could have passed out in the car if she gave him too much. And Chris just threw him in the back seat and drove to Memphis. And then called her right when he got there, around 9:43, 9:46 p.m. Talked to her for 3 hours and got off, did what he needed to do between 12 and midnight and 6 a.m. when it was in the crane. Call me, let's execute the plan. Here we go. That's what I'm saying. It's all a plan, I think. Anyway, guys, y'all be good. Y'all be safe. We love y'all, guys. Trigger warnings, always. Allegedly, I'm just a big alleged bubble. Take it as a grain of salt. The bottom of the ocean next to the Titanic. Y'all be good. Y'all be safe. We love y'all, guys. And we appreciate y'all so much. I know we're a small channel, but we got big hearts. And so many cases we need to cover and not enough time to do them in. So like I said, I'm going to start, I think when I'm doing some of these searches, I'm just going to do like 5 minutes about each person. And then that night, like load them all up, make thumbnails, load them all up and just post them all at once. And then just, make it like 10 or 12 videos that are 5 minutes each over to spread awareness, right? I'm working on that realtor one now. I haven't had a chance to finish it, but I do have it in here. That Dumas, I think it is. The realtor that they know now was kidnapped and actually was right there in the area where we just were by Memphis. They're searching a 400-acre field for him right now with drones and canines. They think they know where they put him. They've made the arrests already on the 5 individuals. There's another one with 5 individuals, just like Sam, the transgender one, is 5 individuals. But the realtor was seen at a liquor store in Huntsville, Alabama with 2 women. And then later they used to track his phone all the way towards Memphis, Tennessee, and then to an area outside towards Mississippi. And there's like a 450-acre remote area, so that's where they're searching right now for him. It's heartbreaking. But we could have searched. We were right there. We just did not know it, or we could have searched. I wish somebody brought it to me sooner. But yeah, I will finish. I'm almost done putting it together. I just need to put the last bit together, his birthdays and all his things like that, because I want to be able to explain him and his life, right? I don't want to just explain just the case itself. But yeah, it's a heartbreaking story for sure. It's Ronald Dumas Jr., 30. I think he's 37 years old. And it's truly sad, especially if they kidnapped him like that. He's a grown man. Abducted is what they called it. And think that they did something to him. Why? I don't know. Did he have money? I don't know. He's a realtor. He might have carried cash. I don't know. I have no idea what the motive's going to be behind it. But it was 2 men and 3 women. They've all been arrested. And I'm pretty sure they're all going to be charged, just like in the Sam case. Which I've done the Sam video, all loaded. I did it this morning. It's still loading. That's what I'm saying. Some days they take all day to load, guys. And some days they don't. But anyway, we're at an hour, guys. So allegedly, all my opinions. We love y'all, guys. We'll talk soon. Y'all be good, be safe, guys, all right? We'll talk on the next one. Justice for Sebastian Rogers. Prayers for all the missing, all the voices, all the runaways. They run for a reason. All right, guys, we love y'all. Bye.